You're watching the Sensephere channel, and now some chilled discussion after the week's angst, with the Doctor Who Detox Hour, or two.
Yeah, cacophony of sound there, the Kookaburras. I know that one well. This is the very Aussified detox hour. So welcome one and all. Yeah, laughing Kookaburras. Yeah, welcome to our Aussified detox hour or two. There has certainly been a cacophony of angst, howls of derision and frustration and speculation from the fan base with recent confusion over season 3. You know, Ncuti, should I not? You know, is he doing Shakespeare to be or not to be? There's been speculation about Ncuti's involvement because if this season 3 delay goes on forever, will we ever have a season 3 with Ncuti in it? And where is the show going? See what our chilled Aussie fans make of that in a moment. I may ask what stories are their go-to favourite Doctor Who stories. You sat on the sofa with your cuddly canine, bag of jelly babies, playing with your sonic screwdriver. What would you be watching? I mean, regarding Doctor Who. And you know we meander and chat and laugh through various thoughts. In the monster debate we had with Daryl Joyce on, great illustrations. I want to show a few more of his illustrations with you today about whether we need a darker Doctor Who. Now, Neil Cole of the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi in Northumberland couldn't make it on that show. He has sent some great video inserts in. Technology allowing, we might be able to show them. If not, I'm hoping he might pop on. If not, he might be caught in a time bubble till everything is just right and we can get him on. So welcome to our detox hour. It's been a while. It feels like it's been a while, I tell you. Just a bit of housekeeping as per usual. Email at censusfree@gmail.com if you want to be a panelist, if you've got topics, whatever else, or just want to tell me off. Check out our Wednesday review. We might be referring to a few bits from Mind Warp because it's very apt, actually. But yeah, the Wednesday review of Who was Mind Warp. On Sunday, at 6 p.m, were you there? Or did you wish you were there? Lonleat 83. Is it a load of hype or the best convention that never was? No, sorry. Was it, I was there, I've rumbled on about it. I've gathered a panel of people who were there, and we're going to give the truth. I've got some of their personal photographs. We'll obviously have some news items as well, if Ncuti's opened his gob again. But basically, yes, was it a celebration of the Time Lord? Was it was it the Woodstock of Doctor Who? Or is it a bit of a nostalgic, sentimental fest from people who've been or wished they'd been? Of course, have you joined our growing band of Sensorite subscribers? If not, please press that button. Thank you very much. I thank you. And of course, we've got some of our favourite items. I jest. Well, I mean, gosh, there's so much to say, but I've I've been married and holidayed in between these detox hours, so I better get the panel on to say hello to them all. So, hello, Cybermat Strikes. Dan, how are you doing?
G'day, Brendan. I'm going really well. It's good to be back.
I know you kept asking me. You kept saying, "Is it next week? Is it next week?" I was thinking, oh, "Hold on, let me get us. Let myself get ready. Yeah, time lag and everything."
I've been stuck in a singularity watching Classic Who, trying to detox.
I was watching Planet of Fire the last 2 days, and I thought I liked the ending more than I did when I saw it. It's a long time to wait for a blue numismaton gas, I think.
Mm,
It's a long time to wait. So yeah, a bit dull.
I love Anthony Ainley in that story. He looks really, really scary.
But you said you've given up on the Peladons again.
Yeah, I can't. I just keep falling asleep.
What? What? When they're this is major. I mean, the Britain went
Oh,
through this. You know, it's a parable that Britain was trying to join the EEC, and it was all this discussion about a big decision for the country. And Doctor Who was kindly showing their version of it, and you fell asleep during political negotiations.
oh dear. Yeah, no, it's my Achilles heel. I just can't do it.
It sounds like it. It sounds like, mind you, my Achilles heel is web planners at the moment. But I'll bring on our other fellow panelist here. How you doing? How are you doing?
G'day. How you going? Do
Now
you know what it means when kookaburras are laughing?
That they're laughing. No, go on.
It means it's going to rain. Generally, there's rain coming.
Oh God, that means I'm stuffed because if I've brought on a storm, you know, the gathering storm, I always get chucked off my own stream. So one of you two will have to chair, okay?
Okay.
And I'll
Easy.
text you and I'll say, that's what happened last time with Rachel and Gary. I was texting them, telling them what's on next. Oh my God. But you know what's on next because you've been pretty busy, haven't you, Dwayne, with entertaining?
We have been very busy, and particularly my co-host on the Sirens of Audio podcast, Philip, he's been spearheading these live events for us. We had both Fraser Hines and Katie Manning for live events in September. The ones you can see there on the right-hand side with Katie and Fraser, that was just for one day only in Brisbane, your old stomping ground, Brendan.
Brisbane, yeah.
So that was a very, very fun day with the two of them together, and Fraser in Sydney and Melbourne as well. So there's Philip and I with our good mate Fraser that we got to spend a few weeks with. So that was very cool.
I bet you had a laugh. I bet you had a laugh.
We did have a laugh, and there was lots and lots of stories that we were told, and I could tell, but someone would have to kill me, so I'm not telling them. You know, they always say that I can't tell those stories in public, and it's absolutely true. You can't.
Absolutely true. And I dare say Katie was on good form as well.
Always. She's absolutely incredible. The time that she and the love that she gives to fans, literally, she gives, like, the Katie queue was about the same as the Fraser queue, but Fraser, you know, he was friendly and doing his thing, but Katie would stop and spend time with each and every person in the autograph queue, and then hug everyone at the end of it too. So she's one of the great Doctor Who huggers, is Katie.
So that, I mean, that's heartwarming when you've organised it. The people are decent. Now you've got to tell us, what was all this about with this meal here? What's going on here?
Well, that was the VIP dinner in Brisbane. So for those ticket holders who fronted up, they could buy an extra item, which was a VIP dinner with Fraser. So we sat around and spent a couple of hours, and they all got the opportunity to spend that sort of intimate time with him while he was regaling them with his stories up close and personal like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, these are well-known. Fraser, I know that's Wendy Padbury there, but you know, Fraser's been on the circuit for a long time. I've just got his Evil of the Daleks book. Katie equally, she's served Doctor Who so well. Obviously, she's been in Australia a lot, obviously, over the years, and she's famed for various things, isn't she? I just thought, there we go.
I've never seen that before. Where did that come from?
I just, I have my sources. So basically,
lucky Dalek.
Well, that sink plunger, when I do mention the children in need a bit later, but thank God the sink plunger was invented by Doctor Who for the Dalek, apparently.
Absolutely.
So yeah, good old Katie. She obviously adores Doctor Who, as you can see. But yes, it's unfinished business, though, isn't it, Dwayne? You've got a bit more to do still.
Yes, only a few weeks away. We kick off another series of live events, but instead of 3, I think we did 3 in September, but this time we're doing 5. We've got Sylvester McCoy in Melbourne on the second weekend in November, and he's joined in Melbourne and Adelaide by Janet Fielding. So we've got a double headline event there for those 2 shows, and then we've got Sylvester in Hobart and Tassie. So I've got the unenviable task of showing Sylvester around my home state for a week while he's here sightseeing. So that's going to be very tough, Brendan, I can tell you. Then he's up for the 61st anniversary. He's doing Brisbane on the 23rd. And Sydney on the 24th of November. It's the Doctor Who anniversary weekend. So how about that? 23rd of November is a Saturday, the same day that it actually screened in 1963.
Funny how it works out. Oh, I bet you can't wait. It's rumbling around fast. It'll be upon you before you know it. Now, I've been a bit naughty because as we're chatting, this is our regular detoxers, but there's one other person who's joined us. Some of you may have seen him or heard him on his own channel, Boomer Doug. Here he is.
Hello. It's nice to be here. This is quite surreal for me. I watch you guys every week. And thanks for showing those photos of Katie. That's a tough act to follow. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I know.
But yes, lovely. I'm enjoying it. It's good to be here.
Remember, I did do my intro and I talked about sitting on the sofa with your sonic screwdriver, and I did think when I wrote that. I thought maybe I'm taking it too easy. I'm sorry about that.
Maybe.
Yeah. So good to see you. And
thank you. Good to be seen.
An Aussie-fied panel who've got things to chew over. So let's get chewing over. So I can't help it. We're going to do a bit of news first, because while I've looked at the news, and maybe you've been in denial with the news, but the news is there. Is it news? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Obviously, if you get the Doctor Who magazine, Russell Davies said you'll have to wait for season 3 till the end of season 2 because no decision will be made. And that was always the case. End of. Now, of course, that was discussed by various streams, and he has said that a couple of times, I'll be honest with you. And he said a version of that in the Radio Times. He's working on season 3, but that doesn't mean season 3 is commissioned. He's just being prepared already to pitch it to other people other than Disney, maybe. I mean, that's sensible if that's a possibility. So far, he's saying nothing for season 3 till the end of season 2. Okay, so everybody be patient. But he's getting on with season 3. And then, of course, we all know Ncuti went on the Graham Norton chat show. And, of course, the story changed slightly. And the top paragraph is, it's all going well. We did the second series this year. The Christmas special's coming up. And we are filming a third series next year. So everybody goes, hey! And then the version that was broadcast took that bit out about the third series. So, of course, everybody becomes a conspiracy theorist. But then Deadline yesterday said, hold on a minute, you're finding stuff that's not there. The BBC didn't censor Ncuti Gatwa over Doctor Who being renewed, but says his comment about season 3 was wide of the mark. And I'll show you some of the details in a moment. Now, I can see your eyes are all glazing over because I know you're not sleeping over this, are you, Dwayne? I mean, you've been bothered for ages about this.
Oh, it's just, it is definitely keeping me up at night. But I read that headline. I looked at the headline when it happened. I'm not sure wide of what mark. What mark is they talking about? I don't quite understand what that headline means.
Yeah, well,
skid mark. Is that what you said?
I mean, the detail's not really there. I mean, it just says, some quotes don't make the final cut. Oh, yeah, nice one. The truth is very mundane. It made the edit to liven up Gatwa's answer and was not obeying a sinister request from BBC bosses. Indeed, the Doctor Who team was not involved in even brokering the interview. The BBC has, however, distanced itself from the remarks, restating that it will not be renewed yet. So far, there's not much there. As we've said previously, the decision on season 3 will be later. Doctor Who magazine repeated. And then last one, just the nonsense about, the House of Mouse and, they weren't happy. They were underwhelmed with the ratings. And so basically, when you said you didn't know what the wide of the mark went, I wasn't sure either, really, Dwayne. But basically, I think all it was the BBC said we don't always show everything that was said. Well, you know that from every interview. Look at Kamala Harris. I mean, hello. They even reorder what she says. So yeah, I get that. But
Well, he was there to talk about the play rather than Doctor
yeah.
Who. So maybe that's what they were focusing on.
And I did.
Yeah,
think
that's what
he
they
was-
said. Yeah.
And I do think he can get. He's. You can tell he gets very exuberant, and I think he can get very excited. I mean, you've seen Katie with a sink plunger. You might be shooting next with a sink plunger. But
Brendan.
no, it's shocking. So, where are you as fans on this? I mean, are you going, well? If it happens, it happens. If RTD is,
Do you know where I am?
season 3,
Do you know where I am?
Go on.
I'm in the classic era, looking forward to season 25 coming out next month on Blu-ray.
That's my big.
I'm
Yep.
devouring classic era episodes. That's where I'm at right now.
Good man. Good
Whatever's
man.
going on with the current series, I just really don't care, to be honest.
Everybody I talk to, though, who are Doctor Who fans, are saying that. And I was talking to Neil Cole from the Classic Sci-Fi Museum, and obviously he gets visitors, and it's mostly Classic Who, of course. And he said so many people they've drifted away from it. And I know other streams have discussed that maybe season 2 could retrieve the situation, but I've got no hope on that one. Why would I?
It's too late. It's too late.
No.
They've already filmed it. It's too late.
And that's what I mean. I can't see RTD's season 1 being different to season 2 because it was all written in the same heap, wasn't it? I mean, that was, you know, he had the same momentum, he had the same drive. The Susan scenario, I think, will be dealt with. Mrs. Flood, of course, covers the whole. I can't see, and he's decided what the shooty Doctor will be like. Why would that change? I don't know. I mean, Cybermat Strikes, you've been trying to avoid the Peladons, and you've been watching various ones, but is there anything you are looking forward to about the future of Doctor Who?
Oh, look, I am hopeful, and I don't want to just crap all over season 2, but it's just the fact that, you know, I just can't believe that the people that produced 2005 to 2010 produced last year's. And the thing was, I apart from a few glitches in the anniversary specials, I actually thought, you know, it felt initially, it did feel with David Tennant back, it did feel like we were about to head in the right direction, and then it just fell off a cliff.
Cliffhanger.
So yeah, well, and I just think that look, I mean, it's obviously the worst negotiation in history, this Disney deal, because it's pretty obvious that Bad Wolf and BBC are going to do it regardless, and they're just they're trying to keep the powder dry so that they can negotiate. But I mean, they're gonna make a season 3. There's no way I just can't see them not doing it.
But is it just for the money spinner potential? But they're just killing the series slowly. The death by 1,000 cuts. To me, I mean,
I honestly can't. I can't see where the money went. Really, to be honest, I don't. I don't feel like the money. I mean, there's some things that made it to the screen, but didn't make it any better.
No, I mean, boom, the big high resolution screen. I mean, well done. I understand all the tech behind that, and my low tech isn't working today, so I understand that. But that's a lot of money on that screen, and the story still has to be done.
I saw all that hype about all the things they did for Boom, and I'm thinking, in the old days, they would have just gone and done that in a quarry.
In a quarry, they should have filmed it in a quarry. I totally agree.
Yeah.
It would have. Yeah.
That's the farce of it, isn't it? We're all quarry experts from Classic Who, and we almost. I mean, Caves of Androzani quarry looks like the Death to the Daleks quarry. I'm always interested in. Oh, that's the same quarry. Is that?
Colony in space.
Yeah, yes. I mean, that's our level. We're experts on rock, but
a quarry. They need some havoc guys and a bit of bit of gunpowder and explosions to finish it off. Probably would have been better if it had gone boom.
I remember RTD, in the early days, RTD said something that's saying, because we've got a bigger budget, we can actually, instead of every alien in this one story has the same face, we can actually give them distinct identities. And you thought, oh, I understand. So the cleverness is, instead of one mask is for 8 Sea Devils, we can now have a baby Sea Devil or a cheeky Sea Devil. It'll be like the 7 dwarfs. One will be shy, one will be happy, one will be sleepy. You know, they can have identities. And you think, well, okay, well, yeah, that's better than having everything's the same. But I didn't see that really. I mean, the children are all different.
No.
But I didn't want the children cosplay.
No.
I reckon they should cut the budgets, and you know, I actually think we should go back to the classic roots and actually see what you can do on a budget. Write good stories and see what you can do on a very tight budget, and
yes.
You know, not worry too much if you can see the joins.
And maybe write something like Horror Fan Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he says, you know, oh, we could just do that. And it's like, could you, Russell? I dare you. Yeah. I'd love to see you do it.
Yeah, well, he's got that very great genius that he can make a classic like Pyramids of Mars have that extra icing on the cake with the Sutex sleeping. He knows how to make a classic even better. So yeah, how can you
make
a
genius?
Yeah, well,
genius.
I mean, we have to call it out. David Hardin says it's podcasts like this one, thank you, and a couple of others, how dare you? No, that are really helping keep my interest in Doctor Who, even if it's not the current stuff alive. Not just alive, but it's thriving. David, we've got tonight. Wait till you hear the favourite stories they've got, and there's a lot of other great stuff like the monsters. So yeah, you keep.
There's another great podcast at sirensofaudio.com too. It's awesome.
I've heard it's been busy lately. Yeah, it's there you go. I am prepared. But
and I should say, you were saying what else are you looking forward to Doctor Who wise? Of course, I listen to lots and lots of audio. Big Finish just this month released a third Doctor box set. Tim Trelaw's been playing the third Doctor now for 10 years, so longer than Pertwee ever did. And the latest one's called the Quintessence, which is the third Doctor, Jo Jones, because during season 11 they've worked it in. The Doctor gets back with Jo as she's older, and they've gone to Mondas to meet the Mondasian Cybermen. So that's a very, very good story, the Quintessence. Recommend that one for sure.
There you go. And so that's Sirens of Audio. They do tend to have them very good contacts there. Now, just to finish off on the news, sorry, David Hardin, but just to finish off on this, the press, after this confusion, have started to say, look, if there was a delay, there's no panic, but we might lose Ncuti because actors can't hang around. And we know.
Oh.
Well, we know this from the Colin Baker scenario. We know this actually with Matt Smith as well, when things got sliced and diced a bit. It gets a bit dicey. So whatever happens, says the Daily Mirror, any future series is unlikely to film until the start of 2026. Now, you know, so what on earth is going to go on with the BBC's huge global sci-fi brand? Well, the prospect of a lengthy delay for any third series featuring Ncuti is real. It's a big deal because of the costs and everything else. We've heard all that before. But they are putting question marks about whether they can hold on to Ncuti, though, because remember, RTD said that he was so pleased he got Ncuti because he probably might be James Bond or somebody in the future, of course. So there was all this thing. I mean, I have tried my best not to go gunning for Ncuti, I have to say, because I will blame the writer first or the showrunner first, because they set the tone, they set the characterization to a degree. But if Ncuti wasn't going to do season 3 because of the delay, I'll go around the panel, Dwayne. Would it be a loss, or do you think there's more depth to come really with this, Doctor?
Well, I think it'd be a loss for some people because there's always someone out there that likes a particular incarnation of the Doctor. For me personally, no loss at all. But the big indicator for me on the TV show, particularly since it came back in 2005, is merchandise. Here in Australia, you could go everywhere and see Doctor Who everywhere, on the shelves, in different stores. I mean, we had the ABC shop at the time. That's now gone. We don't have the physical stores anymore. So that's
Love
a big
that
shame.
shop.
And that was huge for Doctor Who merchandise. They were everywhere. But the books were in all the bookshops. The figures were in all the comic style shops. They're just not there anymore. I've gone into shops, you see Star Wars, you see Marvel, you don't see anything else anymore. Well, you do see other things, but you don't see Doctor Who anymore. And I think that's a big indicator of where it is. If the merchandise is no good and it's not out there in your face, I think that's a good indicator that it's not doing very well.
So have you not booked the character options shooty doll with Millie Gibson?
I haven't, but I don't collect any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it's not out there. I would always enjoy going and looking at it. I just wouldn't, remortgage my house to go and buy all this stuff.
It's that bad now that you pretty much have to drag it all over directly from the UK via Amazon or eBay or something. Like it's just not here anymore.
The postage is incredible.
Or Blu-rays.
Yeah. It's quicker to get the Blu-rays from the UK and Amazon.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
They've made it harder for Aussies, though, haven't they? I mean, the ABC shop, the ABC link with Doctor Who's gone. The Disney effect, that it seems as though they've, I mean, I don't know how many subscriptions you have, but I don't subscribe to Apple and all the other streamers out there just for one show of where, so I can't imagine why I would pay for the Disney Plus just for Doctor Who. And as from what you've just said, Dwayne, I mean, if the excitement has gone for the merchandise, it's also gone from subscribing to just watch. And it's only 8 episodes. Why would you pay a subscription for just 8 episodes? Really?
I did.
Unless you waited until the end and then bought it for 1 month and just binged it. You do it that way.
Yeah.
Which is why, because I don't have Disney Plus at the moment. I don't watch anything else on there. I'm not interested in anything else. So even my kids don't seem to like Disney Plus. They're interested in other things. So,
Yeah, I dropped the subscription as soon as the season was over, and that's the other reason I knew it was bad, was because normally, I don't know how you guys were with even the New Who. I tend to rewatch it quite a bit within the week, and then when the next episode airs, you're onto that one and you rewatch that a bit. This last season, there's been no interest in going back on it.
But do you think...
I've never rewatched it.
I haven't rewatched a single episode.
No, me neither. Not one.
Yeah.
Not one.
I've had a relook at certain bits, but I haven't rewatched an episode at all.
No, same.
I've done it.
Wonder why.
Stream purposes, but Devil's Code. I keep trying to start to see. I thought there were about 25 seconds at the beginning when I thought, oh, it could be dark this, but then it wasn't, because then it was the Space Babies, I think, I know they were laughing. They weren't laughing. We were laughing at them when they said, we've got up to 9 million consolidated. And you think, mate, there's nobody rewatching Space Babies. Honestly. But knowing all this stuff about, your male lead actor says, I'm filming next year. Then the BBC censors it. RTD says it's not commissioned yet. And there's all this blather going on. Doesn't this take you back? And that's why I did the Wednesday Who review on Mind Warp. Doesn't this take you back? Doesn't this sound like a troubled show? It does not sound like in 2005, when actually it was commissioned quite quickly. This sounds like a show that is rubbing the wrong way. I just think the vibe is wrong.
If this had landed, we know that they would have been straight onto this like nothing else. Like, there's no way they'd be sitting around questioning whether or not they were going to do more of it if it had been successful.
Don't you feel they've lost confidence? I've noticed that, particularly the last few months, the wind seems to have gone out of RTD sales. Like, it was all bluster and there's going to be no gap years. Now there's talk that we won't get anything until maybe 2027 or something. They seem to have lost confidence. There's something going on. I have a theory. I think Ncuti leaving and Paul McGann's coming back. He'll save the show.
I think a lot of Doctor Who fans would want that. And actually, Paul McGann
He still looks good. He looks good. He's in his 60s and he looks 30. I'd watch it.
Well, he would work. I can speak for myself and a fair few fans I've talked to, in many ways, more than David Tennant coming back for the umpteenth time.
Yes.
You know, that would have been yeah.
They could do it. They'd find a way to do it easily.
Yeah, it's interesting. Although not what he said recently in the Radio Times. Well, it wasn't the Radio Times. The Radio Times quoted him from Doctor Who magazine, which I saw recently, when he said the Doctor is asexual.
Wasn't that great? I loved it. I love that man.
Well, he understands Doctor Who. Isn't that nice when an actor understands the part?
Yeah, it's great. I loved it.
It's a new way of being, because Jodie didn't really either. Right.
No.
I have to say, I feel a bit proprietorial about the Eighth Doctor because he has such a expanded life on audio. I would hate to see that sort of trounced over by a television series.
No,
it would be good to see him on
TV.
Yeah, but he has such a massive life on audio. It's I feel a bit precious about it personally.
No, fair enough.
So
we need to keep audio separate.
I agree. I mean, some people, think Big Finish canon blur into the, and I think keep the two separate. So I was talking about Mind Warp the other day. Anyone got any good or bad memories about Mind Warp while we're at it? It was
the episode of Trial of a Time Lord that I actually missed. I saw the others around it, but I missed that one. So it's because at the time when they were showing it in Australia, I think they were showing it the first time at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were showing 2 episodes a week.
Yeah.
Back in 1986 or 87 or whenever it was, probably 87 if it was Australia. And Saturday afternoons, 1 p.m. So I didn't catch all of it. So it was quite a while before I got to it. A few years later, when I got the repeats on TV and was able to record them off TV.
I mean, when Cybermat Strikes was talking about where did the money go for season 1, well, we knew where the money went for Trial of a Time Lord, and it was an outstanding set. And you know,
it was good.
It was good. I mean, and obviously they tried to use it again in Mind Warp just to kind of, get him taken back through time to the space station. But in a way, when you look back on misspends and everything, and so you don't know where the money really went in season 1, but when you look back on Classic Who, was that a mistake by J&T to decide to spend all that money on that shot that took about 20 seconds and was used maybe once again, but then the series looked a bit tired in various parts? Because what got me was you got this amazing start to part 1 of The Mysterious Planet, and then the TARDIS landed in BBC Studios. You could see the floor, and it wasn't the most outstanding set of steps into the courtroom. And you think, I don't know if you should spread the money better, because you sell it and then you don't. I don't know. What's people's thoughts on how Classic Who might have budgeted here?
It was worth it. He's flipping the bird to Michael Grade, so good on him.
Agreed. I liked it.
I mean, I loved it, but it's a bit like me doing a YouTube, and I spend all of my week doing Aussie bits to an intro that finishes after 50 seconds, and then the rest of the show's kind of mucked up by tech. It
as long as it's Aussie, it's worth it.
Yes. It has that vibe about it, but yeah. So anyway, everybody's still chuntering about you-know-what. So David Hardin, the only Ncuti Gatwa stuff I've seen is his 3rd act appearance in The Giggle. I still can't help but think that under a different showrunner, he could be at least a good Doctor. I think he just needs direction. And I showed in many saloons quotes from Ncuti where he said he was surprised he wasn't directed. We know with classic Doctors that actually they're asked to find their own role, really, aren't they? I mean, making but maybe Ncuti needs more direction, and I don't know whose fault that is, because if you got John Pertwee worked out that he wanted to play it straight. you know, Tom Baker, I think, just was born to do the part. Patrick Troughton was playing around with hat wear and all the rest of it, and he was trying to work it out. But it seemed to be the actor had a lot of input, whereas I don't know if Ncuti is wanting more input from the showrunner or somebody else.
That's a really good point, actually. I get the feeling that Ncuti wasn't given the opportunity to have any input. Like pretty much every other actor has put their own stamp on it, to the point of maybe choosing a costume or how they were going to play it. And it seems, from what I've read, that he had no say whatsoever. I think even you mentioned on the show some time ago that he had an idea for a costume that they just weren't interested in and decided to go the way they went. So, yeah, I guess it's not totally his fault. He's a good actor. I mean, he's obviously very good in Sex Education, but I get the feeling he's playing the Doctor the same way. I think he needs some help. To me, he's a good actor, but he's not a good Doctor. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we've just got a different type of actor. Jodie was the same in the way that Jodie is. She can act in various things, and I've enjoyed her in lots of other serials. But
yeah, same.
But it felt like to me that because the Doctor role is so distinct and special, that she needed direction in how to be the Doctor. She just needed an encouraging start. And I think sometimes these showrunners are all Doctor Who classic fans go, no, you found your way. You found your way. But that's too loose. And I have to say, I'm one of those, I almost like it written down. I mean, any job I've done, I'm always rule bound at the beginning, then I fly after that. I like to know where my foundations are. And I just wonder if the actors now need more direction than they did before. I don't know. Have we got different beasts? Is he appointed?
No, here's the problem after the last 4 seasons. After Capaldi, it was no longer Doctor Who. It was Doctor What. So instead of concentrating on who the Doctor was as a character, they were interested in promoting what the Doctor was as some kind of identity. And that's where it's gone wrong. You know, there's more what, less who. And that's as simply as I can put it, I guess.
No,
that's a good point. That very well said. Very well said. Yeah.
And the irony of that is, as well, is that they went to all this hype about changing the Doctor to be a woman, and yet they really didn't lean into her femininity at all, and I didn't feel like he played with it much anyway. So what was the point? It wasn't.
It felt like a gimmick. No, it felt like a gimmick to me.
It wasn't fleshed out as a female character, I don't think.
And I do think while you see, I have to say I struggle when they say Doctor number 15, because I start to think the number sounds silly now. It's just we've had too many. And I think it is actually telling me, would I want Doctor Who to continue till its 80th, 90th year, and you have Doctor 27, Doctor 20? I just think something about it's lost. It was nice when you had the 3 Doctors, the 4 Doctors. It's now
that's what Timeless Child did, though. It blew it all up when it was like we're up to Doctor Unlimited, Doctor 4 Infinity. That was such a bad, canon breaking.
Well, Time of the Doctor is one thing, giving him a new cycle, regeneration cycle, but then Timeless Children, it's like unlimited.
It felt like
what
takes
away any jeopardy. So there's no danger of the Doctor ever dying. So there's nothing to ever worry about. Like you can
that's right.
Be scared that the Doctor's in trouble ever again, because know that the Doctor's immortal. So
well, look, while we talk about the new Doctor and whether he would be back, I like to throw this in because I like to see your squirming faces. So with mine, I've picked a few of my edited highlights. Here we go. Now, I keep doing this because I think it's a shortcut to show people how different is this Doctor characterization now. and what have we lost or what have we gained? So in this one, this is the scene right at the end of Mind Warp when the Colin Baker Sixth Doctor is told basically that Peri's dead, and she's now, her brain is gone, and Lord Kiv's now got her body, and he said it quietly, and you could see the shock on his face. How do you reckon our 15th Doctor, with all this emotional baggage he's got nowadays, would maybe present that?
Oh, you know what he'd do. He'd cry and he'd yell and he'd spit until the saliva came out of his mouth, and he'd spin around. And then I think he'd bash a wall, and it'd be all over.
These sound like the edited highlights of the season one. Yes, a bit of Legend of Ruby Sunday there, and a bit of Dot and Bubble. Yeah, Dwayne, what do you reckon?
I've been watching.
Yeah.
He would do a barbaric howl into the Time Lord courtroom there, and like I can see him spinning around and gyrating into the floor and screaming. Yeah, the first thing I thought of was the spit going everywhere too. So
yeah, that's horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Cybermat Strikes. When I look back at Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester to a degree, and it's terrible me saying that. It's just because I was older as a fan, that's all. But they are more subtle, actually. They are subtly, there's nuances in their acting, little touches that maybe I didn't pick up when I was a teenager. Whereas I think Ncuti is just very out there, and it's so obvious. I'm upset. Can't you tell? Because I'm gobbing all over my face. I think I can see when Peter Davison is pretending that he can't cope with life when Matthew Waterhouse has left. I can tell that in Time Flight for a moment. But I don't know. Cybermat Strikes. I think subtlety's better.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and now I really appreciate classic and the early New Who with the acting. It's Shakespeare compared to what we've got at the moment.
Yeah. I want a toned down Doctor. Now sometimes their costumes were not toned down, and that to live with that. I mean, Colin Baker had to live with that costume and still do an acting performance. Whereas I feel as though Ncuti is acting like that costume of Colin Baker. It's like, wow, it's like, can you creep into a room? Can you sneak into a room? Can you be quiet? Rather than landing at unit headquarters going, give me the loving. It's like, oh, for God's sake.
Don't.
Yeah.
You give me flashbacks.
I know.
It's one of the things, the unfortunate character traits that sort of crept in. It did creep in with David Tennant, and then Matt's made it his own. But I really can't cope. Like, I'd really like them to get away from the hyperactive Doctor. Just bring it down. I really liked it. When they brought War Doctor. Sorry, John Hurt. Just he just had that gravitas. I mean, you could watch him sit in that armchair all day, and he was engaging,
But you're making the right point, because if you think about it, RTD and Stephen Moffat have turned the Master, the Doctor, into manic creatures rather than underplay. Can you see Roger Delgado versus John Pertwee, and now you see something like John Sim versus David Tennant, and it's hyper, it's energized, and I don't know, they've changed the Master's character beyond recognition, and the Doctor I don't recognize either. And this is the problem. They're just changing the show because they're bored, and creatively they want to find something new.
That's one of the things I enjoyed with Stephen Moffat's version of the John Sim Master at the end of Peter Capaldi's run, where they sort of they took away the manic and they made him more like Ainley, and I really enjoyed that.
That was good. I agree. That was very good. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And you know what? I even fell for the reveal at the end of what was it? The one where John Sim was revealed as undercover. I used to fall for the Ainley reveals as well.
Was that in the Capaldi, in the Capaldi climax?
Yeah, that's right. Where
just with the Mondasian Cybermen.
That's right. Yeah. So remember he's playing that other character the whole way through. Yeah,
I fell for it too. I fell for it too.
I hadn't been spoiled or anything.
No.
Well, you've got
What
more
about
treats.
you, Dwayne? Did you know?
You've got more treats
Well,
here. Go on.
I thought Khalid in Time Flight was pretty good as a disguise. I didn't really recognize him, but Agil in the King's Demons, maybe, I recognized him there.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Actually, it's interesting, Brendan. You brought that picture up because for me in Mind Warp, this scene is probably. You talk about the acid bath scene and other times of points of violence in season 22, but I think this is probably the most disturbing scene in the whole Six Doctors run.
Yeah,
where he tortures Perry. That you're never quite sure whether
it's
reality or not. Yeah.
Well, we were saying on the Mind Warp show that Colin Baker asked for direction on this because he said, "Is it the Matrix that's changed me? Am I pretending because people are watching me on a screen, or am I mad, or am I, and actually they asked the director, they asked JNT, and they asked the writer Philip Martin, and nobody gave him direction. So in the end, he decided the version he did, which is he's obviously been scrambled. His mind's been scrambled for 2 parts of the 4-parter. But that's disgraceful, really. And I said it on the Mind Warp review. I said that's a slip up by JNT because. Yeah, Eric Sayward leaves. Robert Holmes dies. The production was in a mess, but the showrunner, the producer, knew why he picked the Trial of a Time Lord and must have known the pieces. And so, when your main actor, who's trying to save the show, it had been axed, remember, and you've sarcastically called it the Trial of a Time Lord, JNT. And then suddenly your main actors are going, am I really hating Perry? Am I really? Oh, we don't know. I mean, what the hell's going on? I mean,
plus we had the beautiful evolution of the relationship between the Sixth Doctor and Perry in The Mysterious Planet, which is one of my favorite aspects of that story. Is their relationship has really sort of blossomed since season 22.
Yeah.
And then to go back to this so quickly was a bit of a shock.
Yeah, they threw it all away.
But they did it twice, didn't they? Twin Dilemma was a poor start for poor Colin Baker. I didn't mind Twin Dilemma, by the way. I know it's controversial because of the strangling in the TARDIS, but it's a it's a troublesome start when he's trying to establish himself as the Sixth Doctor, and they settle it down. Then they do this again, as you've just said, Dwayne. I mean, he only had 2 seasons, and he's got 2 controversial moments when he's attacking or interrogating or torturing his assistant. It was unfair. So yeah, but we didn't.
Well, he appeared in 3 seasons, and every one of those appearances had some controversy.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get to say what would the Ncuti Doctor do. I thought he'd be going, look, babes, I have to do it. You know, when a parent says, I have to be cruel, it's hurting me more than you. And he'd be stroking her arm, and I think it would all be touchy-feely. Stroking around. It's okay, babes. It's okay, babes. It's okay, babes. And he'd be crying because it hurts him more than her, even though she's in agony. And I understand Nicola Bryant hated this scene as well because she hates the sea, and the tide was coming in, and she had a microphone on her. So there were a few issues.
He'd say, Perry, just tell me what I want to know. I've got a hot date with Kiv in 10 minutes.
Lee Smith has done this twice now, but there you go. Gatwa would tickle Perry until oops. Yep. And I think the final one there is Kinyakarnas was locked up, and as you know, we had a tawdy doctor who turncoat and everything, but he went to release Kinyakarnas and Dorf, and but you see, if you took Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor away and put the 15th Doctor instead, there may be a nice moment of bribery here, because I remember Ace in Curse of Fenric, when she gave the eye to that guard just to distract him, she flirted. And I just wonder whether our 15th Doctor, because we're all kind of different now, would be flirting with the guard, and, they might go down one of the corridors. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there'd be a controversy if he wasn't flirting with somebody.
Well, yeah. And I'm not being, and Dwayne, I'm not even being cheeky, because it was in Rogue. I mean, he was there, Yeah. So the other little item that I'm going to just do while we're on the Mind Warp, because we're going to come to your favorites and your monsters in a moment. But of course, I do like to just be cheeky. I think it's just my feeling now when I'm struggling with the show. So here we go. So basically, every opportunity, I have to call out RTD's shoddy writing saying that the end of Pyramids of Mars, that, Sutek is always sleeping, because obviously in Mind Warp, this is what will be going on. He would be on top of the TARDIS when the Time Lords grab the TARDIS and take him back to the space station, that he would actually be on top of it and they didn't notice. I have to say, I don't know if it's the worst. Can anyone think of a worse piece of lazy writing that completely changes a whole show? I can't think of it. I mean,
if you told me you're going to do,
but he expects us not to think about it.
Cut up that bad. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing, which is don't question us. He has actually said that, and nobody on Bad Wolf is allowed to question him. And I think what it needs is a Terrence Dix, Barry Letts partnership. It needs a Philip Hinchcliffe, Robert Holmes partnership. It needs a partnership. It needs somebody who says, hold on, what about? Because RTD could be an amazing writer, but you do need challenge and you do need question. And I think
I just wish Hinchcliffe would come out and say, thanks RTD for, you're not fit to touch my era.
He's too much of a gentleman. He's probably thinking it.
I know.
So what about, let's cheer up for a second. Did you see that the Doctor Who magazine has decided this is a second time now? So I've just got that one where it's got every Doctor Who story in a nice bookazine, they call it, of about 200 odd pages. And this is going to be released. I've ordered it now, 21st of November, the Daleks Ultimate Guide. Now, am I a mug for doing this? Because I must have so much stuff on the Daleks, so much stuff on Doctor Who, but the idea of a brand new, fresh-paged, deluxe, 224-page Dalek special, I had to go for it. £19.99.
Looks all right.
I like the cover. It's really nice.
It's very good. Very good.
Old and the new merged together. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a lovely image.
I love that Davros mask. It's the best Davros in my view.
Cybermat, isn't that funny that you say that? Isn't it funny that, in our world of with Davros changed, that they put on a 2024 production?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wonder if there's regret.
Oh, definitely.
So, in my endeavors to cheer us up, it is supposed to be a detox. When we did the monster debate last week, we had Daryl Joyce on, who's great illustrations. I don't know if you've got his beautiful.
I can't wait for his calendar. I've got his calendar on order. I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Now, some of the creatures and monsters, he said he's just showing you as they were, right? So Davros, he said, doesn't need changing. Certainly doesn't need changing from that picture in the middle. But the Mondasian Cyberman, I still think he's made it even darker. And you mentioned the Mondasian.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
that's great. That's great. Cool. Yeah.
I mean,
that's brilliant.
I still think Doctor Who should go dark, don't you?
Yeah, that's body horror. Absolutely. That's real body horror. Yes. Yeah, it needs to be scary again. I need to hide behind my sofa again, which is hard because it's against the wall, but still.
But it brings to mind.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It brings to mind another question I've got for you all, which is, I'm confused what genre Doctor Who actually now thinks it resides in. Or RTD said fantasy, I know, but he seems to do slapstick. He seems to try and do comedy a lot, and he doesn't seem to want to scare. I mean, I've got two questions in one, really, which is, what do you think Doctor Who should be doing? Because, is it to entertain? Is it to scare? Is it to preach? What is it there to do? What do you think Doctor Who should be doing? And what do you think it is doing?
Phew.
Can I
Yeah.
answer that by just mentioning a story?
Yeah.
Yep.
Spearhead from Space. Just watch that story.
Oh, yes.
That's what Doctor Who should be
Yes.
doing. It should
Yeah,
be
well said,
introducing
well
a mystery
said.
of a character. It should be scaring the wits out of you. It should be it should have characters that appeal to all members of the family. It should be aimed at the family, but it should be scary. Spearhead from Space. I think that's the ultimate.
I agree totally. Yeah, it needs to be
mean-
scary again. That's for sure.
I mean, Lee Smith is saying dark sci-fi I want. I think, look, when you stream at midnight, the game's over, because when RTD says you can watch it at any time you want, there's no kind of system now. So this idea that 9 p.m. Watershed and the adults are watching now, so it's a more serious show. No, because the kids will watch on their iPhone or their tablet in their bedroom. Their parents may not even know they're watching Doctor Who at midnight. So whether it's scary or not, the game's over. So I'm up for. I didn't show this the other night, and I thought, do you know that? Look at that Robo Man. I would go for that. That's how to do.
Great. That's great. It's like a I suppose a zombie, but with a headpiece. It's brilliant because that's how they'd be.
Yeah. And look, as parents now, would you be concerned to have that on the Doctor Who show rather than some other horror movie?
No, scare the little buggers. Scare the little buggers. That's what you need to do. bit of good old fashioned horror. Come on.
I do.
That's brilliant.
I
The I know you do it.
You can't pander to every kid. Like, all kids are different. So some kids are going to be terrified. Like, you get adults growing up saying, "Oh, I always hid behind the server. I could never watch it." When you got the kids who could never stop watching it. So you've just got to stick to what it does best, which is what was the classic era, and stick and just keep doing that.
I'll be asking you all soon what you told me about your favorite story, for whatever reason that is, and it might be something nothing to do with Doctor Who, but I have to say we could easily go around the room now and say, what did you love about Doctor Who as a kid? And it was normally when you got a thrill or a chill, or I never had nightmares. I actually was thrilled by it. I mean, I wasn't
same.
Yeah, I wasn't staying up all night saying, "Mum, Dad, I can't cope with life." I was thinking, "I want next week. I can't wait." I was sometimes scared, so I always joke about during the Sea Devils. I asked for the potty to arrive because I refused to go to the toilet because the dark hallway I could not risk because that sea fort scared me.
How recent was this? How recent was this, Brendan?
Yeah. I thought I'd better marry
after the honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's have a bit of fun now. So, Dwayne, go on. Some early doors Doctor Who that scared the EBGBs out of you.
Well, I said Spearhead from Space because that was the first episode I can remember as a kid. And episode 2, the cliffhanger to that, where Ransom goes into the factory for breaks in, and the Auton comes up behind him. That cliffhanger, I could still remember the feeling of electricity up and down my spine. And I was one that I had nightmares. I had nightmares about Doctor Who, particularly mannequins. I always had a problem with mannequins as a kid. Cybermen I always found much more scary than the Daleks. Daleks I always found intriguing, but ultimately and still always feel let down by the Daleks somehow. So yeah, it's the Cybermen and Autons and the sort of human looking humanoid monsters that scare me the most, I think, more than anything. So I would tell my parents about the nightmares, and then they'd say, "Well, you better not watch Doctor Who again." So I would end up not telling them about my nightmares and just dealing with it so I could keep watching.
Which is good. Do you know, and that throws up so much stuff. I'll bring in Tardis Treasures first before I forget. The Doctor Who target audience should be adults first. It was us as kids that watched intently with the adults and made us fans.
Yeah, it was my dad.
Yes, I mean,
same.
I think you always should pitch higher. I mean, this obsession with pitching to the 8-year-old, and then it seems to go lower than 8. But it raises a few issues, what you're saying there. I mean, we all liked, and I will ask the other two in a moment, but being scared by Doctor Who. But nowadays they talk about having a safe space. If you wanted a safe space by logic, that means I don't ever want to be frightened, therefore you can't show Doctor Who. I mean, it takes us into a very strange idea that a child should be challenged. Their imagination, their resilience should be fired off. Kids have to learn by adversity and upset and various things. In fact, the classic thing is you learn more from when things go wrong, don't you? I mean, to be scared and go, how would you get out of that? It's a great tool in your head, isn't it?
Was the safe space in Doctor Who.
Yes.
I
He was a hero.
always felt safe with him, and it's the same with all the other Doctors, but particularly for me, the third Doctor is that safe figure that you could always rely on. So you learnt that bad things happened, but there were places of safety that you could retreat to and feel comfortable in. So you didn't need a special safe space because the safe spaces were often the people in your life.
Yeah. And isn't it also, Doug, something about us as humans? I mean, adults like horror, or thrillers. Yeah. We like to get that suspense. We like to jump when it's actually the cat at the door and the director's tricked you. We like that kind of surprise. We love a thrill. You might cozy up with your wife or whoever on the settee and watch the movie, and it's a thrill. So why can't kids have that with Doctor Who?
No, I agree. There's nothing wrong with a good scare. It's funny you're talking about the monsters that scare you. Mine's a bit controversial. I'm old enough to have watched The Web Planet when it was first. No, thank you.
Me and Jamie watched Wolf Creek while we lived in Brisbane, but we were out in the outer suburbs at the point. So we went to Morayfield, if anyone knows it, who's listening. Morayfield, a quieter district. A little bit redneck, and basically
a little bit redneck.
A little bit
Bogan's the word, isn't it?
Bogan. That's the word.
Bogan.
And as we left the cinema in the middle of the day, it was beautiful Australian sunlight, and we left the car park. We were still scared because the scare was that there's an Aussie out there like that. It's like, so daylight doesn't save it.
I live in Adelaide, the serial killer capital of the world, so don't tell me about scary. I was growing up, and this is not Doctor Who related, but that scares me. The family murders is what scares me. I grew up in that era. Horror.
When I drove through, I've got a bit of a fascination with true crime. So yeah, one of my must stops as I was going through was Snowtown. Had to have a little drive.
Oh, you didn't.
I did.
Oh, you did. Oh, you didn't.
Australia is one of those places where it's really easy to find yourself in that true isolated setting, and when you experience that true isolation, it is really unsettling, especially if you start to think about something like a Wolf Creek, and then you're on the side of the road and you think, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
because there really is nowhere to hide.
Anyway, go on, Dan. Tell us one of your scares as a kid. It's obviously Peladon.
Yeah, come on.
No, it definitely wasn't Peladon. Yeah. No, the stuff that I remember was there were lots of unsettling things through the Hinchcliffe era that I remember on repeat as a kid. Like things like, when they met Keeler was they had him strapped to the bed and he was changing they were feeding him raw meat.
Yeah.
That was scary. That was scary.
Just something as simple as feeding him raw meat, being forced to eat raw meat as you being transformed into something really stuck with me. But all the things like that, they played with simple concepts like the possession of the, either the Doctor or the companion. Those cliffhangers that sit with you all week or until you see the next episode. I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to love thinking about how you'd get out of that.
Yeah, that was the fun of it. Yeah. Binging spoils it a little bit. So that was the fun of it, yeah.
And I remember when Remembrance aired live, the next week at school, everyone was actually, even people that didn't watch Doctor Who had seen it, and everyone was talking about that. at the time.
That's what you want. That's an excitement when it's a shared.
Yeah.
When the
that's
Dalek
how
came
I like.
upstairs.
That's how I like going to soccer matches or something. Now this one, I mean, Underwater Menace, we know is notorious as in. But look at that fish person, Daryl Joyce. I mean, Daryl Joyce. I said to him on the show, I said, I like your version of Doctor Who. Can you please be showrunner? Because oh my god, I'd be scared of people.
Daryl, you are a
from the Black
genius.
Lagoon, isn't it?
That is brilliant. You are a genius, Daryl. If you're out there, that is brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Not just
is
talent, not just talent, but imagination. That is brilliant. Wow, I'm buying his book.
John Levine's
I'll
looking
save my
great there.
pennies.
Look at that! Look at that Dalek. I mean, it's a
Oh,
redesign.
oh.
I think that Dalek's happy to see you.
Where's Katie Manning?
Well, yes, I know she's hiding behind it, but Daryl
She'd love
Joyce-
those tentacles.
But even the hybrid, well, not the hybrid, but the creature inside is looking a lot more vicious.
Yes.
Did you say
Nasty.
Daryl's got a calendar coming out for
Yes.
next year?
Yes, and
I want
Yeah.
this calendar.
yeah, his
I
calendar.
think they might be sold out. But
Oh, really?
Maybe not. I can't remember. You probably know, Brenda. I've forgotten how I got mine now. I signed up somewhere.
At the moment, he said, because we advertised it, of course, but he said it's at the moment seems to be heavily subscribed. But I don't know if that means there's going to be another production line of it, But yeah,
I reckon there will be. I reckon there will be. Yeah.
He's also doing a publication. So to follow on from his journeys in Space Spook, he's doing a second one, which are cliffhangers of Doctor Who.
Oh my God.
Cliffhangers.
Awesome.
I'm ordering it now.
Well, that's it, and that's with
Do
Telos.
you know a couple of years back, my wife, who's not a Doctor Who fan, bought me a calendar. It was a Jodie calendar. And,
lovely.
Oh
She,
no.
I think I need to steer in Daryl Joyce's direction.
Yeah.
Trying to send you a message, Dwayne.
Maybe she is.
Now I remember being in Brisbane when they were making that new K9 series, and of course it was redesigned. But what do you reckon of Daryl's version?
It's much
Sutek.
better than the redesign.
Robo Sutek.
Yeah, I like it.
It's almost a bit monstrous there with the red eyes. But and the other day, people were mentioning the Ogrons, and I didn't have them there, but that's his version of the Ogrons, just to kind of be a tidy person. I mean, the thing is, to me, the Ogrons won't come back because it feels like New Who has turned the Ogrons into the Jadoon. The Jadoon seem to be the ones who appear all the time, or the Ood. That's the other one. But yeah,
Tune of the Jadoon on the moon.
yeah, I have a nasty feeling we won't see the
Man,
Ogrons again.
why hasn't the Doctor Who production had Daryl doing some designs for him?
I was about to say that. BBC, call this guy. Call him now. Jesus.
Well, isn't it funny? The fans in my thread on both shows are nobody's arguing with it. People are loving Daryl's designs. They're dark.
Particularly the
they're
Silurian.
sinister.
That was
Yeah.
I'm seeing it today. You can see in the thread, people are loving Daryl's designs. I hope Daryl sees it. I will text him afterwards.
I hope he
say,
does. Yeah, let him know. He's probably watching.
I mean, I'm hoping to get him on again. He's a creative. I'm not going to.
He's a lovely chap, isn't he? He's a lovely chap. He's a nice guy.
Now, this lad, I'm not going to say his name. I think you're in Mount Isa, another Aussie. The giant spider scared the heebie-jeebies out of me and John Pertwee's story. Each subsequent watch, it just fills me with sadness. I didn't realise Liz Sladen was scared of spiders as well, so that was a bit of an ask for her. As well.
Yeah, I found that out recently.
But to see... I think it was the cellar. As a kid, it was the cellar when they're staring and you had that big cobweb just in front of the actor. And then I think there was a pretend spider there. And then you had the mat with them all doing the Buddhist prayer and then the spider. Oh, I like the cellars. Cellars are good. So
Okay.
I think a cellar. We all need a good cellar.
Is that where you bury the bodies, Brendan?
That's it. You see, I've learned from Australia. I am Australian. So, I've got one more question before we really go nostalgic with your lovely ideas. You know that the BBC and the Doctor Who production team tend to like to do something for children in need. Lee Smith has been asking on my fan page, and tonight, so today has been asking, do you think there'll be a children in need special? Would you like one? Would you dread one? Because last year we had Destination Skaro, which, as you know, is everything. I don't mind. It's a charity night, so I don't mind the Doctor Who actor coming on, waving just to get the ratings up, if that's what they do, and say, please subscribe or please give 20 quid, and then you've done your fundraising. But please don't bastardize the show. Please don't wreck the whole history of the show just for the sake of a charity night, please.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's been some good charity episodes, like
there have been. Yeah, there have been.
The Rowan Atkinson episode was good.
Oh, fair.
If you look at what was the early one that was the supposed to be the 30th anniversary? What was that? That was a charity one, wasn't it? The EastEnders crossover.
Oh, Dimensions in Time.
Yeah,
Dimensions in Time. These are
That
okay
was-
because you can separate them. They're in their own thing. And
they're
you can
good.
enjoy
They were
them
just
for
good
what
fun.
they are.
Yeah, they were good fun. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you see this. I mean, you've got a Dalek, classic looking Dalek, lovely looking Dalek in many ways. But the whole point of this sketch was a joke. RTD seems obsessed with jokes, and the joke was that the Doctor gave the sink plunger to the design of the Daleks, who are one of the most vicious monsters in the universe. I mean, oh yeah,
I know.
I actually, when I actually thought it was funny right up until because I watched this on YouTube and
Same.
and I thought it was funny, and I thought, that's a bit of a laugh. I
right until RTD opened his mouth, right?
Yeah, it was the very next video that queued up was was whatever that thing was, that stupid show that it's his platform to bloody well preach.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I'm just sitting there, and Dad was sitting on the couch next to me because he'd enjoyed it, and then I was just in shock at RTD's comments, and I just thought, I can't believe you.
He just took all the fun out of the room, didn't he? It was a fun little sketch, nothing to do with the show, and then RTD just opens his big mouth, and I'm with you. I had it queued up after it, and I'm going to say nothing now because I'm upset.
Well, David Harding says, he's reminding us here, I liked the Peter Capaldi sketch with Newt Scamander and the two hosts of the Great British Bake Off. It was fun.
Never saw that.
I don't remember. I haven't seen every one, I suppose. Yes, Yokai says, love the Curse of Fatal Death, Moffat's best bit of Who. I get what you're saying, Dwayne, about, well, it's a bit of fun and I can dislocate it from the program, so it's okay. It's just that I think it was him opening his gob after this that absolutely...
Yes,
saying, I'm telling you, my mission now is Davros will never be in a wheelchair. That was it. He just threw the kind of saber down at us, didn't he? I would like a quiet year, if you don't mind. That's I'd like, somebody said in there, Lee Smith, who obviously has got Ncuti sussed. Why doesn't Ncuti Gatwa just twerk for charity? That's the way to do it. Right. Okay, then. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Right. Nostalgia fest, everybody. Right. Okay. Cybermat Strikes. You told me, you mentioned the Five Doctors to me as one of your faves. Do you want to tell us why? As if I don't know.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I would have thought it was obvious. It's got 5 doctors in it. It's
I did.
There you go.
You can't count.
5-ish doctors, maybe.
It did.
4.
But look, you know these ones. I mean, I don't think I'd want a multi-Doctor Who story now. I know sometimes the fans go on about it. I'm thinking, I don't know if I really would. Moffat got away with it with Day of the Doctor. I think he just about made that nicely packaged, but I mean,
no. Well, for me, it holds significance because it was one of the earliest. In fact, I think it might have actually been my very first VHS. that I purchased from the ABC shop, because at that stage I was sort of just coming to terms with the fact that there are more than one Doctor, and it was a really great summary. Like, it was a great sort of way to sort of get the idea of, okay, so there's 5, there's 7, okay, yep, now I understand. I mean, from my perspective, this was sort of around 1990, after the show was over. Yeah,
I mean, when I look at it, it's kind of I mean, Terrance Dicks did his best. It woven together a set of set pieces. And I know he had to keep rewriting it. I know it sounds horrific, really. And Tom Baker dropped out late on as well. This is my set piece that beat all set pieces.
Is awesome.
But it's interesting that I learned that the Raston Warrior Robot was a late addition as well, because it was going to be the Quarks.
That's right.
And it was to make up for the fact that some other people didn't have availability or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
I'm sure it was, because that seems to be the problem with multi-Doctor stories in that regard. It's just lining them all up. I mean, Liz Sladen says she hated that moment where she apparently falls down a hill, because she saw how it was shown and it doesn't work.
It wasn't even a hill.
No. And that's what I mean. And I think one of the things I love 5 Doctors. I better say that before anybody goes for me. But
I love it too. It's a terrible episode as such, but it's a fantastic celebration.
But there's moments where I wanted Sarah Jane Smith with the 4th Doctor. Obviously, the 4th Doctor's dropped out, so they quickly move her to John Pertwee. I don't know if John Pertwee was going to be with the Brigadier, or whether the Brigadier was always going to be with Patrick. You know, it's like musical chairs, isn't it? It must have been so hard. But I felt it was a shame, because Sarah Jane Smith with John Pertwee's Doctor is very different to Sarah Jane with the Tom Baker Doctor. She'd grown. Yeah. And so you got, and of course, Susan is always badly written. Susan,
I didn't understand that. No, she had nothing. I mean, it was really great to see her, but there was no logic. And yeah, no, you carry on. I just didn't understand that one at all.
Well, and there was also no real reaction between the 5th Doctor and her when she entered the TARDIS for the first time. They kind of just looked at each other, and that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And that's probably when there's nothing in the script. Peter Davison must have thought, well, all I can do is stare at you and smile or something. I mean, there's nothing in the script, and that's the fault. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to blame Terrance Dicks, because he had too much. There was too much going on. But when you look at in the desperation to do a celebration and a multi-Doctor story, Carol Ann Ford's Susan, the original companion, was undersold. And then you go, oh, and then you worry about, well, if Susan comes back now, does RTD the genius do something amazing with her?
No.
I know some fans have said, well, he might bring her back to regenerate her. Don't you dare. I think Susan has been in our head as Carol Ann Ford for 61 years. Leave her alone. Just leave her.
I agree.
Kill her off, bring her back and regenerate her.
Kill her off.
So anything else?
Tough. That's tough.
You know, any other thoughts on 5 Doctors, on where you thought it did? I mean, we enjoyed it, but you know, I can be critical.
I enjoyed it. It was a really not a very good episode, and we can pick the hell out of it. But I just remember how excited I was when it came on, and I was a young man. I was probably growing out of Doctor Who, but I just thought it was just a really good, fun celebration, and I still rewatch it to this day. So yeah, I think all the criticisms are valid, but for me, it's like the Christmas specials. There are some really bad Christmas specials, but I love them all except for the last one, because well, in Australia we got them on Boxing Day, but that's another story. But yeah, I love the 5 Doctors. It was just a lovely celebration.
Yeah,
and I think the 40th anniversary edition in the Blu-ray set is the ultimate edition. I think it's one of the best special editions
I want to get
ever
that.
Done.
It's worth it.
It's
Good. I
brilliant.
want to get that one.
Oh,
Excellent. I'm getting that one.
Absolutely. You stick it on your big screen with the 5.1
Yes.
surround sound. If you've got
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the
Just
Mr.
sounds-
Whippy one?
Yes.
Did you know
Is that the
then?
Mr. Whippy one?
No, that's the 20th anniversary.
No,
It has
that's
been-
yeah.
It
I've
has a
got the
venture
20th
in.
one.
So
Yeah.
you've got here the idea that the Time Lords could grant. You see, originally Robert Holmes was going to write it, and the Time Lords could grant a new regeneration cycle to a Time Lord and all the rest of it. And it was offered to the Master, so we've got that element that they could play with. You see, the Master being offered the regeneration cycle by the Time Lords in the Five Doctors opened a can of worms for later on, as you know. The Robert Holmes who initially was going to do the Six Doctors, but one of them was going to be like a cyber lot. Well, he basically wrote a version of the Timeless Children, but without the regeneration nonsense, ahead of its time, because he had an imposter doctor, and he had this idea that the Cybermen were behind it and trying to get the DNA of the Time Lords. And look what happens at the end. And did you Aussies know that the Five Doctors was co-produced with the ABC, who put in $60,000?
Yes. We knew that.
You were proud. No, yeah.
We
It
were
doesn't sound
proud.
doesn't sound much, does it?
No, it's not.
It wouldn't have happened without us.
No, that's right.
Just
That's
you
with us. There's no five Dockers if it wasn't for the Aussies. That's right.
We
And
made it.
the other thing was Terrence Dicks had to fight to get the Daleks in the story. Eric Sayward loves the Cybermen and didn't want the Daleks in, and so he had to fight to get that one solitary Dalek in one crummy little corridor.
It was a bit. It's a bit wasted, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Susan's best bit, if in a way, and that's a shame because
that's true. Yeah, it was.
I love Ainley in this one as well. He's
good, isn't he? Yeah,
all these lines and why
he's good.
These thunderbolts are everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, there was some great. I mean, Doctor Who and action sequences, they're normally quite curtailed in the classic series, apart from some of the unit ones. I mean, there's some great ones there. But you know, a battle sequence was rare. You know, you had a little moment in Earthshock. You had a great moment in this with the Ras on Rory Robot and the Cybermen. You had that moment you've just said when the Cybermen, the Third Doctor, the Master, the Thunderbolts. There were some lovely little bits. I felt sorry for Peter Davison.
Explain to me, with all the Cybermen episodes that we've had through over the last 5 years, there's been nothing that even matches the Cyberman slaughter with the Rust on Warrior Robot.
No.
Nothing even gets close to it.
Can I just say that it was mentioned earlier that it was the first VHS that you bought, I think, Dan, and for me it was the first beta cassette that I bought along with the Seeds of Death. So you can imagine I put this in and the first thing you see is Hartnell. It was the first thing I had ever seen of the First Doctor. I'd only read the targets before. I'd never seen any First Doctor.
Yeah,
you sort of get a glimpse of him in the Three Doctors, but this was proper First Doctor, and it blew me away. So along with that, I had my Seeds of Death. So I had my first two Doctors in that first beta collection.
I was excited because we saw the Blue Peter when Richard Turndall came on with Peter Davison, and I was excited, yes, like you, because I'd just seen the Five Faces of Doctor Who, and you wanted to see him proper. I think that was the way around it went. But I was just saying, I felt a bit sorry for Peter Davison. He is the main lead in this. It's his show at the time, just like John Pertwee for Three Doctors, and we know how John Pertwee felt. And Peter Davison's character had to be bogged down in Time Lord politics. He missed out on some of the fun, didn't he? I mean, Pat Troughton had his fun. John Pertwee had his fun. I feel as though Peter Davison missed out on what was his special.
Well, too tough luck.
John Pertwee would not have allowed that. No way.
No.
So just to cap on that one, that was Cybermat Strike's choice. 7.7 million in the UK, which ain't bad, because that was in the middle of Children in Need. They wouldn't do that now, but in the Children in Need night on a Friday night in Britain, they started Children in Need for about half an hour. Terry Wogan comes on and then says Doctor Who. Then you watch it, and then it continues with the fundraising. And they didn't ruin it by putting ticker tape all the way through saying, please give £5 or anything. So they wouldn't do that now, because they tend to just go hyper on the texting and all the rest of it. So the next choice on the list there. So Dwayne, you came up with an early doors one. Do you want to sing?
Yeah. So fill up your glasses and join in the fun. Is that how it goes?
Something like that. I was listening to it last night going, oh my God. Linda Barron, of course. It's the Gunfighters, everybody. Now, why did you pick this?
Yeah,
Well,
why?
You said give us one of your favorites, and I'm a huge sucker for the comedy historicals of the First Doctor. So you've got
It's a
the
lot of
Romans
fun.
and the
It is a lot of
Judges
fun.
and
Yeah.
the Gunfighters. And I was a reader of those Peter Haining books with the Jeremy Bentham review in there that said that the Gunfighters was the worst story ever in the history of Doctor Who. Then I was also one of those fans in the late 80s who was I was part of that circulating of 6th, 7th generation copies of VHSs that went around. So it was a very strange, surreal, psychedelic experience watching the Gunfighters on VHS in the late 80s. But when you finally got a good copy of the Gunfighters for the first time, it's really good. And it's one of my comfort episodes. So when you said one of my favorites, well,
Yeah,
I was thinking, I want to pick an old one, and this one was just jumping out at me at the moment. So I change all the time, but the time that you asked me, this was the one that was jumping out at me, and I think it's a lot better than anyone gives it credit for. In fact, I think it may have suffered in the ratings because it got bad ratings, but it may have suffered potentially because the Celestial Toymaker wasn't that good. You know, how people didn't tune into Boom because of the Devil's Cord, that kind of thing. So, but potentially the Celestial Toymaker with the Doctor being gone for most of that story turned people off, so it stopped them watching for a couple of weeks, and that's why the ratings were
William
so bad.
William Hartner's very good in this. He really looks like he's enjoying himself, doesn't he?
He's sensational. His comic timing is genius.
Yeah.
I think Peter Purvis and Jackie Lane are doing a great job as the companions in this too. Their piano scenes are fantastic. You've got some actors there, like when you see Johnny Ringer, you go, where have I seen him before? Well, he was in the Leisure Hive as well, and he was also in the Two Doctors. That actor, what was his name? Lawrence Payne. So the actor in the Two Doctors with his eye missing, well, you see him with his eye in the Gunfighters. Shane Rimmer, who played Seth Harper, also played Scott Tracy as well.
Scott Tracy, yeah.
So you get his accent throughout there because he was a Canadian, I believe.
Yes,
and I don't know. I just love it, and the fact that the music is done by Tristram Carey, his other music for Doctor Who is so different to anything else he's ever done. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for Tristram because I think I spearheaded his first fan event when I was looking after the Doctor Who club in Sydney. I got Tristram over from Adelaide, where he was living at the time, and got him to come up to do a fan event with Dudley Simpson in Sydney.
Wow.
About 22 years ago now.
Wow.
It might have been the only one he ever did. Even Keith Barnfather came over to meet him and arranged to do a Mythmakers at the time. So that was a bit of a thrill. But when it goes leaves the comedy and goes dark in episode 4 for the actual gunfight, that's really well done too. I think the whole thing is just a comfort viewing for me.
Well, David Harding is agreeing with you here. I didn't care for the Gunfighters the first time I watched it, but my opinion of it has completely changed as I've got older. And Robbie Bonham is basically saying that age brings appreciation. Now, you mentioned that everybody. I nearly fell into that with the myth. The myth is that this was the lowest rating classic Doctor Who show with the lowest audience appreciation score, and actually, that's a myth. The Savages and other ones are lower, and actually more recently as well. And of course, this was the last story with any working title. It's not working titles, but each episode had an individual title. This is the last time it was done. We had obviously the song, The Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon. It was the only classic story set completely in the USA. Peter Purvis hated the script. He said it was a crummy script. Rex Tucker, the director, had issues with it. He thought this was below him after being overlooked for An Unearthly Child. Peter Purvis and Jackie Lane were written out the show during this period, so sad times again. And this is the final William Hartnell serial for which all broadcast material survives. After that, we start to hit a mismatch. So
I didn't know that about the War Machines, that several bits of footage are missing from episode 3 and 4. I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
Well,
Is that because of Aussie censors? A lot of them we chopped up.
And if anybody wants to know, again, these photographs are from the Facebook page Photo Research, and I like the rare ones, the ones I've never really seen. I love to see the gantry above. I mean, yeah, we know what the Gunfighters looks like, but I love to see the set. And so, you know,
it's a great set. It's a great set.
It's a very good set. Very good set on such a low budget. They did wonders.
I love to see that horse trainer in all the shots I've got. You know, she's there in the background, you know, like, okay, right. Be careful.
Apparently, something I learned recently was that I think the actor who plays Doc Hollywood is Matthew Jacobs' dad. You know, the writer Jacobs, of the. Yeah.
Matthew Jacobs was actually on set as a boy. Watching his dad do this.
Well, there's the main cast list. So yeah, that. I mean, it's one of those that you heard about before you saw, didn't you? I mean, you'd read about the Gunfighters and the low ratings as a kid, and so when I came to get the video, you were almost kind of prepped to almost criticize it, but it is different. You know, it's Donald Cotton. It's that mixture of comedy. You know, they were trying to work out whether to go for comedy or to dark. And what was interesting was the BBC were worried about this because of the amount of deaths, the amount of shootings and everything. You know, the BBC always are wetting their bed over this sort of thing, aren't they? You know, why?
Don't forget, also David Graham was in this too as Charlie the barman. And speaking of death, he had a death scene where they actually had part of the song describing the death scene as well. So they really dwelt on that. But yeah, you got shades of Professor Kerensky in City of Death.
Yes.
You know, just stick some glasses on Johnny the barman, and you get a bit of Kerensky there, which was pretty funny.
Left-Handed Jedi, good to see you. I wonder if the Star Trek crew from the original series borrowed that set for their OK Corral episode. I know. Well, you see, we always talk about quarries, but I noticed in the original series of Star Trek, there were certain rocks that I saw an awful lot.
Yes.
Now, your choice, Doug, was... Well, you went for two.
The War Games.
The War Games. Yeah.
Well, no, the War. I mean, I did say Spearhead from Space, but the War Games leads on to that. I mean, for me, it's a sentimental thing. We emigrated to Australia in the 60s, and when this first came on, I'd kind of lost touch with Doctor Who, and I turned on. I didn't realise William Hartnell had left, and there was this new guy who I really loved, and I started getting into it. I mean, spoilers. I didn't realise how this was going to end, and it was just exciting. I loved the idea of the time zones, the TARDIS-like machines, the noises they made. I remember getting out my little tape recorder and recording them. I just loved everything about it, and then that finale, I mean, it just blew my little mind that all of a sudden he gets exiled to Earth, and then lo and behold, the next week there's this new guy in colour. It was, although I don't think it was the next week, but in my brain, my memory says it was the next week. But yeah, it was just an amazing. It was such a breakthrough. I mean, it was the first mention of the Time Lords. I might be wrong, but I think it's the first time they called him Dr. John Smith. And there's this amazing scene where there's sonic screwdriver is actually a screwdriver.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it, and I watched it again recently. It actually holds up quite well. I mean, you allow for all the production values of the era. Patrick Troughton's always good. I just love it. It brings back fond memories, and like most Doctor Who, I guess for all of us, it's associated with your memory as a child, and this one really registered with me in a big way. Yeah, it's up there with Spearhead from Space. It's probably an equal number one, and they kind of join together in my memory anyway.
You know,
But it's me anyway.
Great
Week
about
that
it is there's a lot.
they showed it. Sorry, they because they were repeating regularly, even then. So they could have shown it the next day or week.
Yeah. Actually, you guys can probably help me out on this. There was a period in Australia where the ABC showed Doctor Who every night till Monday to Thursday for about 2 years, because I recorded every episode, and I've got my own missed videotapes now. I don't know where they've all gone. That's what got me back into Doctor Who. They screened. They started off with Unearthly Child, ended with Survival. I don't think they had the rights to the Daleks episodes, but I can't remember when it was. I think it was the 2000s. But do you guys remember, or are you too young?
Me, too young. Thank you.
Well, I'm 67.
They did start from an Unearthly Child in '93.
Yeah,
and I think, but there was the early 2000s where they did start on the ABC at an Unearthly Child again and went right through. Yeah,
I think that's the one, because I got my video out and recorded every single episode, which has now gone missing. And that's what got me back into Doctor Who. Basically, it's so you're probably right. I think the War Games, the real memory of it was that I think there was probably quite a gap between Spearhead from Space and War Games, but in my mind, it was the next week. But yes, it's my favourite.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of the background to this, just to see if it reminds you and triggers you with anything. I mean, I have to say the ratings, we've got to be honest, because I slag off the ratings now, but if you look at the ratings...
They weren't good, were they? They weren't good, I don't think.
No, and if you, I mean, the Gunfighters overall was better. If you look at that, it started with 5.5, ended with 5. It dipped. Part 8 is the Notorious episode, which is a shame because it's almost one of the most groundbreaking episodes of Doctor Who history.
Still beats season 14.
Well, you say that. So episode 8 is the lowest rated episode up till part 1 of Battlefield. And yeah, it was the big reveal, really. The 4 choices of the Doctor's, possible regenerations were done by the story designer. It was the first time you saw some drawings of what you could be in the future.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, you've got your clips there from Robert Few from the Deep in the Wayland Space. The space time machines that you talked about there, Doug, they pronounce the Sid Rat, which obviously is TARDIS backwards.
Spelled backwards, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, that's right.
That's right. It takes you back to the end of season 1 now, when they were doing that Sue tech and they were playing around with all that nonsense, weren't they?
Yeah.
The hint was there. This was the last time we had rolling credits until obviously the new series. It replaced a story called Doctor Who and the Impersonators, which sounds interesting and intriguing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in episode 1, the Doctor kisses Zoe. This marks the first time the Doctor kisses a companion, albeit in a platonic manner.
Oh, God, what a sex pest.
I know, but there's fans out there who always say, well, the Green Death was romance. And you're going, no, it was not.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Leaving, that's all.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, so the War Games, I mean, do you think it sustains the 10 parts?
I think it does, but I think it definitely does. But also what you've got to remember, people that complain about it being too long, it was meant to be watched weekly. So you're hanging out for the next episode. And I'll be honest, when I watched it again recently, I did zip through a couple of episodes because there was a lot of standing around. But yeah, on its original broadcast, of course it did. It was, I loved it.
Yeah.
I won't hear bad things said about it.
David Hardy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't get to see the War Games until the VHS tape came out. I think that's true for me, actually. I don't recall Canadian and US public television stations airing 60s Doctor Who or any Third Doctor stories that had black and white episodes. Yeah, we've all got different experiences of this, and it's. I mean, I love these color pics of what it really did look like. I mean, it does look very 60s, but it also looks so blooming exciting.
Some great set design, design in this. I mean, they obviously had no budget, but it was those futuristic sets. I think they hold up quite well, except for there's one where they look like they've got shower curtains or something, but they look great.
Now, you did mention very quickly Spearhead from Space. I need to be fair here, and I've got a few photographs there. So, and we mentioned Spearhead from Space earlier, Dwayne, as well. I mean, Spearhead from Space. I know I said your favourites, and I know it can change with the wind. Our favourites, but you know, did you get the impression when you look back that John Pertwee was being pushed in one direction, but actually after this story, he's going to go in a different direction? He's not. He discovered himself in this, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did definitely. He definitely,
standalone. It's pretty standalone, isn't it, in terms of the character of the Doctor. It changes significantly when Barry Letts takes over.
And doesn't the Blu-ray look great? It's just so good. I'm glad that was all on film. It's just a great little story.
I mean, obviously, we've got the issue about, you know, you choose a companion, a scientific advisor who really. It's a mismatch, you know. When you look back now, when we know the issue that, you know, Joe Grant is a better fit for the Third Doctor, but when you look back at Liz Shaw's contribution, what do you think that should have been given more of a chance?
I like Liz Shaw. I think they had a good relationship. It was. I think it's a pity that she wasn't allowed to do more. I do think, though, that she was probably best in Spearhead from Space, or maybe Inferno, but I don't think they gave her a lot to do.
Which is always the curse for a companion in those days.
Unlike of
now
course.
Where the show's all about you.
Exactly. Oh, cool sunglasses there, John. Cool sunglasses.
Oh well, yeah. I love to see these ones where he's either rehearsing or the rest of it. But yeah.
He was a stylish man, wasn't he, John Pertwee? He was a look at him.
Wait till you see some of my shots for my favourites. Now, as Dwayne said, your favourite can change now and again.
Of course it does. This
is one where, if I talked about comfort watching, getting your duvet on a winter's night and just watching it and just going, I don't care. It just makes me feel good. And in my case, it is Planet of the Daleks. It to me, it's just, I don't care that it's a rehash of the Daleks. I don't care.
They all were, though, weren't they? They were all kind of rehashes. Terry Nation was notorious for producing the same story until they told him to go back and rewrite it. So, but it's a lovely story. You're right. It's good fun.
Yeah, and you know, mind you, I saw these shots and the mud they had to deal with on set. My God, they really had it look chaotic. I mean, look at the state of them. Just to do that one shot with the Daleks going down the ramp, but no, this is cozy. And I have to say, look at those ratings. Those ratings are hot. Although I can't remember who it was on our panel who said it, but the Daleks do always lose interest as you go through the episodes. And look how many. They're popular, but don't drag them out, I think is the theme. People get bored of them quite quickly. They get excited by them, and then what's next? That's, I think, the truth there. But I hadn't seen these shots before. This is the Spyridon, because obviously this is 73, and to see all
the Roy Skelton on the right.
Yeah, and to see them do them special effects where basically, I know you see them now dressed in black or green, don't you? Whereas he was all in white, I think it was. I think. And look at him doing the bowl that he paused to put on to treat Joe Grant. I have never seen these shots before, and I'm intrigued by that bottom left one where you can see the invisible Dalek all white. Absolutely loved seeing that. And you see the Spyridons, the invisibility, that plague, it seemed, on Joe Grant's arm. Those things are so strong in my childhood memory. I love the fact, and let's face it, you had a companion in part 1 where she's talking, clever idea, talking to a recorder, doing a diary. and she was the star of the show for most of that because he was just suffering from attack by polystyrene on his face, and so I did like this one, and I love the fact that I thought it thrilling. You know, in that Thal's spaceship when she's hiding from the invisible Spyridon, and you hear his heavy breathing, all that stuff. I mean, fantastic, because you didn't know if he was an enemy or not then. But I think a lot of the sets. I love this little set. You know, when they had the ice Kano exploding, that seemed to work. But apparently, look at that jungle. I know everyone talks about Planet of Evil, and quite rightly, but I didn't mind this jungle at all. I thought it was really atmospheric. And
I think it's the lighting. It looks good.
I mean, the Daleks, the Daleks in 1963-64 also had a very good set, I thought. It's just we didn't see the colour. Now, you were talking about stylish John Pertwee. Look at John Pertwee there in rehearsal. Look at his sunglasses.
You smooth devil.
These are shots, we love Doctor Who. You can see where the set finishes. You've got two bulky cameras. You've got John Pertwee in sunglasses going, well, we're not dealing with it yet. And there's somebody looking at the script. And there's a little Dalek scaring nobody. Absolutely love that. And there's the Daleks looking very kind of emasculated. In fact, the camera looks more dangerous.
It does.
Their balls have been cut off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the Daleks. That's the Daleks in 2025. Yes, there we go. And then I haven't seen that last shot where obviously John Pertwee pushes it into the water. Obviously, there's a photograph that's on one of the Doctor Who annuals. But look at his last one when he salutes the Dalek as he's pushed it in.
Yeah.
Oh, great fun. I do.
Going into the Navy Lark.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah, I've got really... I'm sorry, I can't lie. I know it's not the most popular choice with some Doctor Who fans, but I just... As I always say, and I'm aware I'm going to say it again, give me Daleks chasing you down a dark corridor and you've got no way to escape. That, to me, is Doctor Who. Just give me more.
It's nightmares, yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Brendan, have you ever considered Planet of the Daleks and Frontier in Space to be part of the same story? As they used to say, it was like the sequel to Dalek's Master Plan.
I know, and this I love Frontier in Space, but to me, yeah, it's hard because I think it would have been such a beautiful 12-parter if Roger Delgado had been able to see it through. Because that was part of the plan, wasn't it? And that's the shame because I know the master plan was 12 episodes and it was going to be Delgado's finish. But I just find it just seems to be Frontier in Space is very distinctive, very Ogron, very draconian, and I love the politics of that one. Then you get a little Dalek at the end, don't you? You get a quick Dalek and Master and Doctor, you have some friends here. And I don't know, I struggle to join them, even though I know I should. Do you?
Yeah, they do seem quite distinct, but all the Haining books you used to read would talk about that being like the big Dalek Master Plan sequel, and I never quite saw it, but you got that tentative connection at the end, but that's all.
Yeah, I do like. And they only did it again. Tell me if I'm wrong. In Stolen Earth, when David Tennant's Doctor was shot partially by a Dalek, I've always wanted the Doctor to be hit by a Dalek because we had Ian in the Daleks. You know, the Doctor to be in peril sometimes. I know you've got to be careful because an extermination can kill you, but I like these they'll paralyze you. And so David Tennant's Doctor was hit, and of course John Pertwee was hit, and. I like a bit of that, you know. I like the last page of Frontier in Space, the target bit, when you're trying to work out what's happened.
What about the one with Jodie where they just kill them all over and over again? That's a great one where you get to watch the Doctor and the companions.
Actually, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. Yeah, I must admit, I'm not a big fan of Jodie's era, but I did quite like some of the Dalek New Year's specials, and that was a good one. I thought made. I think wasn't that made at the height of COVID, so they're very restricted what they could do. I thought that was good. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I didn't know this. Episode 4 was to have all the Thal characters massacred by the Daleks. The BBC was concerned about violence again. Barry Letts made it clear on the DVD commentary, which I must have missed that he was really unhappy with the model Dalek army shown in this story. He wasn't too happy with the sets used for the interior of the Dalek city. Yeah, I suppose, yeah. Although I don't mind the dark corridors on the bottom floor.
Isn't that the one where they use the Rollican Daleks models, like the toys?
Yeah, I think so. In the ice, yeah, I do.
Yeah,
think so.
You can tell that they don't look right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
I'm trying to think which photograph this is. RP says, is John Pertwee abusing those poor disabled aliens? Which one? Which one's that? I'm trying to think what photograph it is. He sat there. Yeah,
it's interesting that this is your favorite one.
Yes.
Over the other Daleks of this era.
Well, look, I love Genesis of the Daleks. I love, I do like Death of the Daleks, but I have to be honest by my instinct, and my instinct is Planet of the Daleks came a bit earlier. I think Planet of the Daleks was my first proper introduction to Daleks. I'd seen bits of Day of the Daleks, but in a caravan in Torquay on a black and white telly in the corner, but not the full episode because we were on holiday. So my first proper Dalek story, sat down, buckled in, was Planet of the Daleks, and it was in colour, because Day of the Daleks I saw in black and white in snippets, so not the same. And to see, it is, I have to say, I'm sorry, it's atmospheric. The jungle's atmospheric.
Don't apologise, Brendan.
I'm just trying to say that
how you feel.
I'm tapping into, as a kid, going, how does...
Don't hold back.
How does Doctor Who get out of this? And of course, he uses a bit of plastic to raise 500 people. That's the only bit I didn't understand actually on rewatch, which is how much did all of those adults weigh? And that little bit of plastic. But at least it was an idea. And I mean, Terry Nation looks, and actually RTD does, because in the writer's tale, he says he likes the idea of going up and down rather than that way, doesn't he? He says there's something interesting about falling up and down ladders and stuff like that. I do like a lower level. I do like that. And when you have a chapter in a target book saying the lower level or something like that, you're going to read that chapter, the lower level.
Oh, there's that basement talk again.
Escape into danger.
Basement. Yeah.
Maybe I was born in a basement. Maybe I'm So has it cheered you up so far? A bit of nostalgia. You've forgotten season 3 wars now.
I'm feeling rather detoxed.
Yeah, very much so.
Yes.
Yes. I need to intoxicate myself now. No, I need some intoxication now. I'm too detoxed.
I don't hear the kookaburras though, so it must be sunshine tomorrow.
There you go. I know. I went for every stereotype that was possible. But I mean, we were talking on our Mind Drop show, we said, somebody in the thread said, all those missed opportunities, like Derek Jacobi could have been the Master for longer.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, I was saying, when you look at all the great actors who've been employed in Doctor Who, actually, when you look at the list, it's stellar. But there's all these missed opportunities, like, as I wish I knew who it was in the thread said, oh my gosh, John Hurt versus Derek Jacobi. How close.
By Claudius too.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes think, you can, was it clever to have Zoe Wanamaker in only a few scenes to play Lady Cassandra, or should you have had Zoe Wanamaker more? I sometimes wonder with Doctor Who, and Classic Who did it as well. Sometimes you employed a stellar actor and you underuse them. I mean, we know with New
Stephen Fry was a classic example. He was in it for 2 minutes.
What a waste!
Yeah,
total waste.
Well, what's the name of the one who was Sally Sparrow?
Carrie
Carrie Mulligan.
Yeah, she's got on to
Yeah.
big things, hey.
And what about the 11th hour, Olivia Colman?
I know.
I mean, whoa. I mean, you just think, you obviously
And
knew Olivia-
Spider-Man. Isn't
Yes.
Spider-Man in
That's
that
right.
Daleks in
Daleks in
Manhattan? Yeah.
His name, Andrew, somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Andrew
keep forgetting.
Garfield.
Yeah. Yes, his name's not Spider-Man. I know that. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, and Andrew, yeah.
Well, David Hardin saying you had John Cleese in Doctor Who, but only for one scene.
Yeah.
But it was a great story,
good-
City of
good-
Death.
Good
What a-
scene,
Yeah, it was
too.
great.
I mean, actually, City of Death is a comfort watch for me.
Me too. Me too. I think that's what it's all
You know what I
about. Too,
like
that
about-
sometimes. No, go. Yeah,
Sorry,
go.
you go.
No, go for it.
What I like about the actors who've played the companions in the new series, most, if not all of them, have gone on to do great things. So Billy
Yes, they
Piper,
have. They have. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They have been hindered by the typecasting thing. It's been like a doorway, isn't it?
Jenna
you're right.
Coleman's done great things, and
Yeah,
Catherine Tate, she was big before anyway, but even Pearl Mackey's still doing lots of things, so that's really good. Yeah.
What's interesting?
Randy's done well.
What's interesting is, remember when Tom Baker, one of the reasons he wouldn't come back to the Five Doctors is because obviously he just played the role for 7 years and he was in danger of being typecast. And that was quite right. I remember when he did Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and then he did that Medics series when he was a mad professor, and I loved him in that with Sheila Grant from Brookside. I've forgotten Sue Johnson, and but I can't remember him much else. Now, isn't it interesting how the actors, it could have been a grave for them. Peter Davison's always managed, I have to say.
He's still employed. He's doing well. Yeah. Peter Davison seems to have survived it. Yeah.
But now you see Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and it's stratospheric.
Bloody David Tennant's and everything, isn't he?
Yeah. But it's the ones who've really hit. I mean, Doctor Who now, and maybe, when it happens so many times, is it possible to deny that if you were Ncuti Gatwa, you think, this is my golden ticket, I've won the lottery, and then you almost because you're getting told by the showrunner you are the next big asset of Hollywood and stardom. You're given no direction, and then you look at how hard some of the actors worked, and it did pull Tom Baker back. Colin Baker, I think, got pulled down by the blooming nonsense behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If you're at the star of an act show, you're the star of an act show, aren't you? That's very unfortunate. I just feel sorry sometimes for the classic actors who played Doctor Who compared to some of the New Who, because New Who just seems to have a vehicle behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Patrick Troughton, though, he did well. Patrick Troughton managed to. I think the reason he left was because he wanted to keep working as a character actor, and I think pretty much up to his death, he was still working pretty regularly. But you're right, most of the others. I mean, I know John Pertwee did. I forgot the name of that show he did. The Scarecrow show. What was it called? Yeah,
but he did Who Done It. Sure.
I loved Who Done It, but apart from that, what else did he do? He kind of kept. It seems like he just made personal appearances and stuff. But you're right. Who Done It was great fun. I've watched a lot of those on YouTube. They're very dated, but they're lots of fun, aren't they? I love them.
I love to see all these actors all smoking as they're talking about.
Yes.
All the things you can't do.
And Patrick Troughton was working very hard when he died, but that's another story.
Okay. Okay. Is there something I should know?
Chicago Convention.
Okay.
David Hardin says, for us in North America, the classic actors are kind of frozen in time. I never got to see most of the Doctors or Companions again, or if I did, it was not. I see what you mean, because you've got that disconnection. This is a good point. Demorpin, Sian Phillips in 73 Yards was a crime. I agree. Gosh, you get Dame Sian Phillips and you give her a scene in a pub. I mean,
yeah, it was a cameo at best. Yeah.
God, I mean,
she wasn't even pivotal to the story.
No,
you get a name like that,
could have been.
You make them pivotal, surely.
Could have been anybody. It could have been anybody. It was so disappointing.
Now, RP is trying to trigger me. Just don't mention the guy who plays Secret. It will set Brendan off. Well, I could play the tune again. No, I would.
What you mean, Gabriel Wolf?
Yeah. I think it's because they know I might kind of put another segment on again.
They changed his name for the new series. It's now Gabriel Wolf.
yeah, exactly. But do you think this is also an interesting one that William Hartnell, as Richard Brown is saying, was a well-known cinema actor, and so he gets Doctor Who almost as his final role. I think it probably was. I know he did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Patrick Troughton was well established. My dad tells me he was on radio, he's on TV. My dad knew Patrick Troughton as from being a kid on TV. Well established.
Yeah,
John
he was
Baker.
there. Yeah,
but Pertwee was established too. Don't forget, he was very established as a comic.
He was, and he was on the radio. My dad goes on about Troughton and Pertwee, well established. Tom Baker was more of a relative unknown, but he had been in that movie. Peter Davison was well known on TV in Britain. And he seems to have done very well there. Colin Baker was known in the 70s. What I'm saying is, I'm building up slowly, is Ncuti came from nowhere. I mean, Sex Education, because things are on streams now, it's very hard. I watched Sex Education once he got the job, but I hadn't heard of him or watched the show. I actually went because I was a Doctor Who fan that way around. And
I did that too. Yeah.
I just wonder now whether, yes, it makes their career possibly earlier in their career because RTD's obsessed with having younger doctors. I don't know. I feel as though we're missing a beat. Do you think it was terrible that because Peter Capaldi was, oh my God, he was in his 50s, shock, horror, that we can't have an older doctor anymore? Because I think we've missed the point of Doctor Who. Always having a 20-odd-year-old doctor or 32-year-old doctor, as Ncuti Gatwa is now, it tends to make you think hormonal. It tends to make you think of romance, which I don't want.
I'm a bit confused. Was Peter Capaldi sacked? Because everyone keeps coming up with these different stories. It sounds like they were trying to ease him out because of his age. Is that just a rumor?
The ratings were going down, but that's
he wasn't sacked.
No,
but I think the deal for Chibnall coming in was that he had a brand new doctor. Capaldi, I think, wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the feeling I got. He loved that role. He loved it.
Yeah, and he was made for it. But
he was.
We could go on forever, and people are joining us all the time. Where have you been? Where have you been?
Where have you been?
Where have you been? Honestly, tardy.
Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Get an alarm clock. So, David Harding with Patrick Troughton. I remember seeing him in an episode of Only When I Laugh. Oh, The Omen, of course.
He was good in The Omen, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yes, The Omen. Yeah. Yeah.
That was classic.
Didn't last long, but he was good.
Oh God, that was good. That was a Raston Rory robot from the top of the church. Did you know that? It was a spear from the Raston. He was, The Omen could have been so different if it was a Raston Rory robot. Yeah. We could do a mishmash of different things. The Omen scared me to death, but that's a different story.
Me too. Even the music. Yes, very scary.
So, everybody, 2 hours of Doctor Who delectation. The Doctor Who detox is back. I'm back in the chair.
That went quick. Bloody hell, that went
clean
quick.
Again.
Just goes. Dwayne,
I'm still pretty dirty. I'm very dirty. Need more.
Do you want to give a shout out to what's coming up on your channel, Dwayne, as well as getting Sylvester and Janet?
Yeah, look at you.
We've had a bit of a break over the last few weeks, but we've got some good things coming up. We're going to be doing a retrospective on the first Doctor box sets very shortly, and we're going to go right back to the start very soon because Big Finish has been going for 25 years. So we're going to be doing a retrospective on our favourites over the last 25 years of Big Finish.
Cool.
Long time.
Now, Boomer Doug, you've got your channel. Yep. So what are your episodes coming up?
I'm working on another one about memorable movie moments. I'm also working on one which is probably sounds a bit strange, about one-eyed movie characters, people like Rooster Cogburn and Snake Plissken and stuff. There's a bit of a personal reason, because as you know, I'm getting a cancer cut out of my eye, so I'll probably have to present it with an eye patch. So I thought it might be appropriate. But if anyone's interested in classic TV and classic movies, come along to Boomer Doug. And the numbers are quite low at the moment, so I need more people. But the people that are coming and visiting, and they're fantastic. It's a lovely community. It's the kind of stuff we grew up with, you know, the Persuaders, the Saint, the classic movies from the 60s and the 70s. And it's just me being self-indulgent, really. It's my retirement hobby. So I'm very much enjoying it. So please come along and have a chat.
Yeah, and Dwayne, you know this. How many years have you been doing Sirens of Audio? It builds, doesn't it? I mean,
4 years. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does build.
Yeah. I mean, you've got great connections now. You've worked hard. How many?
I
shows
have.
You done? Yeah, you have
You're
as well.
doing well.
Yeah. I mean, how many shows have you done? I knew you've done 100 odd, Doug, and how many have you done, Dwayne?
We're into about 213, 214.
Wow. Wow.
No, all that editing and everything and prep, my God. Anyway, and of course, you're not finished because you've got Janet to deal with, the mouth on legs.
Yep.
Yeah. At a Brisbane
Is she that
sweatshop.
bad? Okay.
You can come along and meet Sylvester in Adelaide, Doug. We'll be over there in a few weeks.
Well, I'll look into it. It's a bit above my price range, but I will look into it. It's I think it'd be fun. You're doing a great job getting these people, though. I mean, probably helping them out when they're retirement too, I guess. But you bring some amazing people over.
They never retire.
No, actors don't really, do they? They carry on till they drop.
I don't blame them. Well, it's now time for the intoxication of Doug, as he said. So the detox is finished. Time for you to add your own toxins after that. But anyway, thank you, and we'll do it again. I'm hoping next week. So thank you, everybody. I enjoyed that. Good night.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See ya.
Forget Sunday at 6. Were you there? We'll tell you all about it. Good night.